Dr. Von Mad, and today we're going to be building this artillery piece. Now this is a plunger-driven artillery gun. It fires by drawing back like that to fire. Now the cool feature is that you can pull this up and lodge something in under it, like say a clothespin to change your elevation and get more range out of it. So what you're going to need are well, paints when you're done to paint this cool camouflage scheme. I'm going to paint this one a slightly different one than this one. You're going to need a couple of the giant sticks of the jumbos, this one large dowel rod, one smaller one, 2 rubber bands, 2 clothespins, 1 tongue depressor, and a handful of popsicle sticks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build the chassis. Now, the chassis is a tricky thing. Now, also you're going to need a pair of scissors, a saw, and a glue gun. Be careful. Alright. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this down. I want to cut it evenly. So, trying to get it cut evenly. There we go. Well, about even enough. Now, actually, maybe not even enough. There we go. Now, we're going to cut right like that. Now, what we're going to do now is bring this one up, the other piece, and we're going to cut it along here. It's going to be your basis of your chassis. Now, lay the chassis here. Take one of these popsicle sticks. Now, we're going to cut the ends of it off here, about, just a little bit. Cut it a little bit shorter than it would be, and that is going to be glued into place right down the middle. Now, you're going to take another one like this. You're going to cut it down. What you kind of want to do is make it kind of like an arrow shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter. And I'm going to cut another one just like it for the other side of the platen, for the base. So we're going to snip it up on this end and on this end. Now save these pieces, they will be needed. Alright, so your first step now is going to be to come up here and you're going to glue this one into place here, and this one into place here. Now if it's a little uneven, you can trim it down a little bit. You're going to take another one of these and you're going to cut it in 2. Now what you're going to do there is you're going to glue that right there. Basically what you're trying to do is build a base for the gun now. So I don't measure, so it's probably going to be a little bit uneven. But it will be very cool when it's done. Now, do you remember this other piece we got? That will glue right here. Right here. See? Now, your base at this point should look something like that. Now, your next step, well, my next step is going to be to reload my glue gun for a minute. Oh, also, I about forgot. You also may need sandpaper. Sorry about that. Now, you're going to have 2 clothespins now. The first one you're going to glue shut. That's going to be facing the front of the weapon like that. The other one, actually, the one that's not going to be glued shut is going to be right here on the bottom. I'll show you how that works, because that's going to be your way. Otherwise, you won't be able to elevate this cannon. So, see, you want the one that's open laying right here, so you can still do this. The other one's going to glue in place right here like that, facing the other direction. Now, and the reason I got this extra one is you never know when one of these are going to split. Now, at this point, you can see where this is starting to come into shape now. Now, your next step, you need another popsicle stick. Depending on the length of the barrel you want, I'm going to cut mine down just a little bit right here. And we're going to glue her in place right along here. Now, at this point it should resemble something like this. Now, cut another piece here, and you're going to come along on the side of this here. And you're going to glue this into place right here. There we go. Now, you're going to take one more like this. You're going to cut it to the same length as the other one. Good enough. Now, it's going to glue along right in here. And that's going to glue this section of the barrel into place. Now, you want them to be even, because the next step. Your next step is going to be your, take your tongue depressor, cut it down. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit shorter than the others, because you're going to have a kind of a, your plunger is going to take up the slack anyway. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to put that right along that edge and drop this into place. And so right there is the basic frame for the gun. Now, your next step is to take your plunger. Now, here you want to kind of measure it just a little bit. But you don't want it all the way up to the end. Mine's all the way up to the end, and it does cause some problems. You want it right about this long. Now, what you're going to do now, remember I told you to save those pieces? Well, you're going to fix to find out why. You're going to glue onto the end that's not got the plunger. You're going to glue this one into place, these little scraps of wood. You'll see why in a minute. Glue this one into place, and you kind of want a little bit of a groove right there. That's going to hold your rubber band. I'm going to glue one more piece up here top side. Just a little bit. Now, if you want to measure it just a hair, kind of get the idea of how, how much you want in there. See, that's going to be fine. Now, to make your ammunition, see, right now we can test this thing. We're pretty well done with the glue gun at this point. We're going to test it and see how this plunger works. You may have to kind of tinker with it yourself to see where you want it at. But this goes down over the barrel. And you lift this into place, and there you are. You can also, or as I've got mine, I've got it mounted up here on the front forks, because it makes it actually fire a little bit better to do it that way. Perfect. So, if you don't want it pushing all the way out like that, you can either cut this off a piece, which I may do, or you can put maybe a piece of wood right in here to kind of hold it back. But there you are. The band just came off, which is exactly what I wanted it to do, because I'm going to be doing some other stuff here in a minute. Now, let's pull these bands off, and as you can also see it, you can raise and lower your elevation. Now, to make your ammunition, You're going to need some sandpaper, and you're going to need a big dowel rod. And this, I think, is like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 or 1/4 inch or something like that. Now what you're going to do, you're going to come along here. You want to cut a section about 1 inch, not much more than that. And just kind of, got to be very careful. And you might want to give it a test shot or two just to make sure. If you don't want to go through with this, you could use craft beads. They won't fire as well, and they're more likely to jam. This actually will make the barrel a lot sharper, I think. At least it did on mine. If this don't fit for yours, you may have to find something a little closer to the diameter that you need. But this particular one works for mine. It depends on what the diameter of your barrel is. Sand this down until it's nice and smooth. Now, does it slide down the barrel? Well, it fits down the barrel, so let's test it to see if it shoots. Alright, so, like I said, I'm going to end up cutting some of this plunger off. It was sticking out the end. That's the reason I left it a little bit on the long side. Now, if you have to cut yours off like that, what I would propose to do is just sand that off too. Gives you kind of a nice smooth. Now let's see how deep that goes in. Yeah, that's much better. Now, let's put our bands on it and let's test fire this dude to see how it shoots. Now, pull it back, load your ammo, and it shoots. Now, if you're not happy with the power, you can do something else with it, but that ought to do the job. Now, you can change the power or whatever you want to do. Now, the next step is going to be painting. Now, what I would do with this if I were you, it'd be to pull these loose, to pull the plunger loose when you're doing this, paint these two things separately. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with let's get the paints down here. We're going to start with lipstick red. I don't know why, I'm just in a mood to paint this thing kind of a red camouflage scheme. So, get your flat brush, get all your extra gunk off of it, and let's go to town on it. Pretty sure everybody here knows how to paint a basic red coat. This will be a very visually striking artillery piece. See, it's kind of a bright red, whatever color you want to do. Happy little cannons. I think a red camo scheme is going to look kind of sharp, really. Kind of a red gun. There's a reason, guys, for all the grown-ups out there why I don't paint anything with any tactical color to it. Because I don't want to be party to a tragedy. There's too many people that get a little bit too shoot crazy. A little too shoot crazy when they see something that actually looks like a real firearm. And I got nothing against real firearms. I'm a gun owner myself. But if children are playing with it, it's probably a good idea to make it a color that's not going to be confused with a real thing, and get somebody that's a little bit trigger happy. But in this case, and I think Kid Mad will agree, she just come in here.
Yep.
That
I'm right here.
Okay, Kid Mad, let me ask you this one. I'm painting cannons and toy guns. Which looks cooler, to paint them a drab black or a silver, or to paint them with these really bright camos?
Probably, I think something... Are you doing that one camouflage or just red?
I'm going to paint it a red camo scheme.
Oh, well, I wanted like that red camo scheme thing.
So you think the bright colors look cool, don't they?
Yeah. Actually, I think the bright and light colors both together are like cool.
Yeah. Now,
Like
we're going to paint
a dark blue, light red, and light pink.
Now on your plunger, the only thing you don't want to paint on this thing is the plunger itself, this section right down here, because that'll cause friction on this thing and affect the performance.
Why shouldn't you paint it?
Because if you do, it'll make it dull, and it'll also make it where it drags. It'll drag inside the barrel. The only place you don't paint on the main chassis is inside this gun barrel. Now, we're going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and paint this thing, finish painting the camouflage. So we'll see you guys in a little bit.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, this is Dr. Von Madden. We're about to start the next phase of the paint job on this. The color scheme is going to be red, white, blue, and yellow. Just all primaries. After consulting with Kid Mad, who's busy playing right now, she wanted to do this more or less in the style of the PLA. So we're going to try to do that. There's just kind of really large patches of stuff. So it's kind of what we're going to do here. So just going to paint this undercarriage because I did not paint it when I did it a minute ago. Now, paint there and here. Grab a little bit of this paint and dab it here and here and a little bit here and a little bit here. Splotch it. Now we're going to get to the next phase, which is we've got red. Now we're going to go with a little bit of yellow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a different paintbrush for the yellow. We're going to let that dry. And I'm going to grab a slightly smaller brush. In this case, something with a little bit of a point on it. Now, so, and this time it's going to be the moon yellow. We're going to put it in place. I said just kind of just a few little splotches here and there. There we go. Now, while we're at it, I'm going to do a few little splotches on this plunger platen up here. There we go. Now, next is the white. And then we'll assemble this thing when it dries and we'll see how she looks. Let's go with the white paint now. Take this up and I'm going to get a different paintbrush. White's a real tricky one to paint with because of the fact that it is so easy to corrupt the paint. To contaminate your paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just little daubs of white. Just a few little daubs of white paint here and there. Let's turn this around and we'll put a few little daubs here. There we go. Kind of an interesting color phase, isn't it? Now we're going to put. Now that should finish our paint job. We're going to go ahead and assemble this cannon while we're waiting for it to dry. And you've already seen how it works and how it fires, so we're good there. Now when you assemble when you put your firing mechanism on it, you're going to hook right like that. You're going to go over your barrel and hope that it don't do what it just did. Pull it back into the plunger. Now, over here, pull this, Pull that down there. And there you are. And see, now you can elevate. If you like these videos, and I'm hoping you do.
And here I am.
And here's Kid Mad. Say hi, Kid Mad.
Hi.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.
See you in the next video, and on the flip side.
Bye-bye.